Hello everyone, back to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days, or today's second video, which will take us to around the 4th, 5th of April. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles running to around a couple of weeks. So we'll have a look at CFSB2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks as well. The 5-day forecast has been released, so it's going to be turning colder in the coming 5 days. Winds are going to be turning into the northeast, and we could even have some wintry showers over the weekend. And if you think that's cold, then wait and see what the charts are showing for like days 7, 8, 9, 10. Later on in the video, we could have a real northerly plunge on our hands as we go through the first week of April, but more about that in a moment. Before I do anything else, I've got to say a big thank you to our latest patron. So we have got 64 patrons to Gaz Office. Hello, and a big thank you to our 64 patrons. We very much hope you are enjoying the content. So I'm going to say hello and thank you very much for becoming our latest patron to Kirsten Glover. Kirsten Glover has become our latest patron, so a big thank you to Kirsten for doing that. Kirsten has asked me to give a shout out to Emma as well, Emma Glover. So big thank you to both Kirsten and to Emma. Hope you're having a lovely day and hope the sun is shining wherever you are. It certainly is here in Northerly. So a big thank you to Kirsten and a big thank you to Emma as well. If you would like to become a patron for Gazworthies, then all you need to do is come to Gazworthies' Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, and then give an ongoing monthly donation. You'll pool in with all of the other patrons, and that is how you become a patron for Gazworthies. And it can be anything from $1 a month upwards. So if you become a patron, you'll pool in with all of the other patrons, and we'll give you a mention in videos. Alternatively, you can become a PayPal donor. We have already had a couple of PayPal donations over the past day or so, and most people will be getting a shout out and a mention in the coming days as well. So if you want to become a PayPal donor, all you need to do is come to the Gazworthies PayPal page and you sign into your PayPal account and then give an ongoing donation to Gazworthies, however much you would like. Again, you will get a mention in videos as long as you want, but some people would rather stay anonymous. That's absolutely fine. It's not a problem whatsoever if you'd like to stay anonymous. So otherwise, we're going to give you a mention in the videos, and we will say thank you so much for doing that. I was explaining yesterday's video that we are primarily ads funded at Gazworthies. All of our content is completely free for everybody to see when they want it and when they need it, and we pay primarily for the website and whatnot with the advertisements. But of course, with the coronavirus crisis, which is primarily a medical and a health crisis, but is also a financial crisis and a financial disaster, we are seeing that the yields on the advertisement, the revenue on the advertisements, are collapsing over the past 2 or 3 weeks in particular, really gone off a cliff. So the ads just aren't paying anywhere near the amount of revenue that they should be and they used to and would do without this disaster. So for the time being, we are very much reliant on our PayPal and Patreon and other revenue streams. So any donation that you can afford, of course I appreciate it's a tough time for everybody, but any donation you can afford is greatly received at this very difficult time for all of us. I've had to announce today that the chat on Gazworthies.com is got to close for the time being because we can't afford to keep that going during these hard times. Hopefully when things pick back up, we may be able to get the chat going once again, but for the time being I've had to scale that back. But we are going to keep on with the content, so there are a few things I'm having to scale back on just during these very tough times, and hoping that things will improve in the weeks and months to come. But the content is going to keep going. The videos will be recorded and uploaded daily. We'll still do a written post on Gazworthies.com. So we're going to keep on going, and we're going to give you the content that you want and need during this coronavirus crisis. So yes, we will keep on recording and uploading. uploading. But a big thank you to all of our donors, a big thank you to all of our patrons, and special thank you to latest patron, Kirsten Glover, and also hello and thank you so much to Emma Glover as well. Thanks so much to both of you. Right, we're going to start off with the temperature at 10 HP. Now, finally, the black line has moved. So I was saying in yesterday's video, but I was expecting the black line to be a bit higher than it was, given the stratospheric warming that's been occurring over the North Pole over the past week or so. I was a bit surprised the black line hadn't moved, but here we go. The black line has finally got to where I was expecting. I thought it might be a little bit higher than that, but that's sort of about where I was expecting, somewhere around -10. So that's where it was yesterday down there. So there's been a definite increase in the temperature at 10 HPA with these charts from the JBA. I'm not sure what happened yesterday. Maybe they took a day off or something. Perhaps a holiday in Japan or something. But anyway, the black line is around where I was expecting it to be at this point. It's got to around -10 at 10 HPA, which is one of the top levels of the atmosphere in the stratosphere. You can see that's a very dramatic warming from where it was just a few days ago down around here. So a real increase in temperature. It's gone up by something like 10, 20, 30, 40 degrees in just a few days. So a very, very dramatic warming of the stratosphere has now taken place. I think this qualifies as a sudden stratospheric warming. Of course, we wait to see what the tropospheric response to that is going to be, but the sudden stratospheric warming has occurred at 10 HPA. The black line is still lifting up at 30 HPA as well. I'm not sure you get much higher than this, but it is clawing its way up very close to the grey line, which is now the trend, line, of course. So it's now clawing its way very, very close to that grey line. You can see that the temperature at 30 HPA, which is closer to the troposphere, actually. It's sort of near that boundary level between the troposphere and the stratosphere. That's down at around -80 or lower, or has been through much of this season. But now the black line has lifted up to kind of like above -60, actually. So quite a significant increase in temperature at 30 HPA as well. But it really is at 10 HPA that the warming has been very, very dramatic. And as I say, that has lifted up to around where I was expecting it to be. And we should wait and see now what the tropospheric response is to this sudden stratospheric warming, if indeed we do get one. But temperature is going to be quite cold in the next week or two. So these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're at Darlington today. So the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Darlington. And this is another suggested location for this section of the video, by the way. So if you'd like to have your local town or city featured within this part of the video, then just let us know. Either through the comments at GazOffice YouTube channel, or you can email us at gazoffice@gmail.com. Or ask us through our various social media accounts. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. We're all over the place, so we're very easy to get hold of if you want to. So we're starting off with upper air temperatures actually significantly above average. It is quite warm by day at the moment, but by night still quite cold. In the next few days, temperatures are going to drop. It is going to become unusually cold over the weekend. We're going to be taking the temperature down, upper air temperature down to -10 at 850 HPA. Which, I mean, there's a red line, so that's very significantly cold on average and quite unusual to get the upper air temperature that low, like at the end of March. So that's relatively unusual. Beyond that, we see that early next week there's a bit of a recovery in the temperature, but it's a slow old process. As we run through the first week of April, you notice we've got a bit of a split then within the ensembles. This is the first week of April just here. So we have these ensemble members up here that are relatively mild, but these ones down here are a lot colder, and that does include today's GFS 6 o'clock operational run as well, which is this thick green line just here. I'll show you that in a moment, but it does bring down a real potent northerly through the first week of April. It's not quite a 50-50 split, so I think it's about 60-40 between these ensemble members up here, but are milder in 60% bracket. These ones down here, but are colder in the 40% bracket. A lot of dry weather to come as well through the next week, so loads of dry weather over the next week to 10 days. A little bit more in way of precipitation as we go through the first week of April. There will be a little bit more precipitation around And, of course, if it's cold, then there will be potential for wintry precipitation as well. With this cold plunge just here, I've been thinking about so I'm not sure there's going to be a great deal of precipitation with this northeasterly that we're bringing in over the weekend. So I'm still wondering and sort of thinking about doing snow watch for the weekend. Not sure it's quite justified. It is from a temperature perspective. It's definitely cold enough for snow. It's just I'm not sure there's going to be a great deal of precipitation around, but I am going to monitor it, and we may still be able to do snow watch towards the end of the week. But certainly about first week of April, if there's more precipitation around then, and if it's cold, then maybe that could deliver something a little bit wintry. Who knows? Temperature anomalies, look at this, really significantly colder than average. This is temperature anomaly from the 25th of March to the 2nd of April. It is very substantially below average, not just for the UK and Ireland, but through many parts of Europe, actually, especially like France, Low Countries, Western Germany, really significantly colder than average. Some places with an anomaly of like 4 to 8 degrees below average. Bear in mind how mild it has been through this winter, just week after week after week of these charts showing very substantially mild and average temperatures. It is all changed now. We're moving into the middle of spring, just when we don't really want it to be cold. Probably especially with this virus doing the rounds. And yes, we've gone quite substantially colder than average for the temperature anomaly from the 25th of March to 2nd of April. And the UK and Ireland is included in that as well. Precipitation anomalies from the 25th of March to the 2nd of April are drier than average for the UK and Ireland. In fact, for much of Northern Europe too. So cold, increasingly cold, but dry really sums it up. Right, this is how the GFS is looking for Saturday. Of course, this is all covered by the 5-day forecast, which goes up to Monday. But on Saturday, we've got high pressure towards Iceland. Winds are coming in from an east to northeasterly direction, dragging quite a lot of cloud, maybe some wintry showers into east parts of the country as well. That northeast wind kind of freshens as we go through into Sunday. So Sunday will probably be the coldest day out of its northeasterly outbreak. And again, there could be showers in the east. If there are showers there, I think they'll be wintry because the upper air temperatures are definitely cold enough to support wintry showers. And snow could even fall to low levels across parts of sort of east of Scotland, northeast England, if there's enough showers around to cause that. There's the upper air temperatures for Sunday. You see the minus 10 Celsius is in there across the eastern and northeastern part of the country. It's unusually cold air for the 29th of March to the end of March. Then to the early part of next week, this high pressure begins to slip southwards again. So we cut off that northeast. It will still be cold early next week. There will be significant overnight frost, but by day, probably seeing a bit of a recovery in the temperature if the sun comes out. However, I did tell you when we looked at the ensembles a couple of minutes ago that this GFS run brings down a real northerly, and that's how it happens. The high pressure then starts to push its way up towards Greenland through the middle and second half of next week. So this is Thursday, and by then we've got a cold front pushing in from the north as the high pressure is moving up to Greenland, and that is forcing much colder northerly winds to plunge southwards across the country. So by the time we get through to Friday, this is Friday the 1st of April, we are in a strong and cold, or even very cold, north to northeasterly wind. It's a very long fetch northerly as well. If you follow the isobars map, the air is originating from a really long way north and plunging southwards across northern and western parts of Europe. There's the upper air temperature showing the minus 10 Celsius is flooding southwards across many parts of the country. That northerly continues into Saturday as well, which is day 10. So day 10 is Saturday the 4th of April. And again, we're in this cold, or very cold, northerly wind, which would be driving in snow showers, particularly to northern and eastern parts of the country, as the upper air temperatures again unusually cold with those for early April. Moving on through the first week, further through the first week of April, the high pressure then begins to slip southwards, and we just start to turn wind into a bit more, a bit more of a westerly. So beyond day 10, we start to bring milder air in from the Atlantic, but also with some spells of rain. And that's how we look as we get to day 10 with this GFS run, which gets us, not to day 10, that's how we look as we get to the end of this GFS run, which gets us to Friday the 10th of April. And high pressure is ridging into the south and southwest, bringing a lot of dry weather to England, Wales. Still probably quite unsettled Scotland and Northern, and there will be a lot of dry weather on offer there down in the south, but more unsettled in the north. It is a lot milder. GM looks like that. So again, winds in from the northeast over the weekend. Looks dry but quite cold over the weekend. The central pressure of that high pressure is going to 1,050 millibars there on Sunday in the North Atlantic. So that's unusually high pressure that we've got in the North Atlantic. Northeasterly is continuing to be early part of next week. It's looking cold early next week. And then, again, same story really as with the GFS. The high pressure begins to push up towards Greenland. This trough of low pressure starts to sink southwards across western parts of Europe. We don't manage to put in quite so much of a northerly. This is how a northerly can go wrong. And we don't, or this is how sort of blocking can go wrong. We don't get a northerly from it. So we have got the blocking in place up over Greenland. That has successfully been achieved. But this low pressure just here is still to the north of Scotland. We've got secondary lows developing down here. So this keeps us relatively mild away from northern Scotland anyway, and there's probably spells of rain associated with that too. If the low pressure was to go in that direction, then it could get quite interesting with this low down here engaging cold air. That sort of thing that can produce a snow event even in early April. But as it is, up to day 10, despite having blocking over Greenland, the GM still keeps things relatively mild up to that point. ECM looks like that. So again, high pressures out to our northwest on Saturday, bringing cold east to northeasterly winds. May continue into Sunday as well. The issue with whether we do snow watch or not is really how high the pressure is. So it's 1,050 millibars just out to our west, 1,040 to 1,035 millibars across England and Wales. That sort of high pressure is probably going to squeeze the precipitation out of the atmosphere to some degree. I think there will be wintry showers down the east coast. Don't think that'll be a problem. But how far inland, how widespread they are, that's what we're struggling with at the moment. Early next week, we find the high pressure slipping southwards. We keep it cold by night, but we do cut off that northeasterly, and by day we probably see a bit of a recovery in temperature. And then into the middle and second half next week, here comes the northerly again. So we've got high pressure reaching through the North Atlantic up towards Greenland. Low pressure is sinking down the east side of the country. Winds turning into the north. So yes, becoming a lot colder from the north through the course of the second half of next week. A proper cold snap from north. Not quite as long lasting though as the GFS has it. Upper air temperatures not quite as cold either, but certainly cold enough for any showers that are coming down with those northerly winds to be of snow. And by day 10, that's how we look. So then beginning to bring in a milder westerly, and low pressure starting to come back in from off the Atlantic, probably bringing some spells of rain. This is a precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from Tometeo.com. So again, rain's in the northwest today, otherwise a reasonable amount of dry weather. Rain sort of fizzles out overnight tonight in the northwest, and just a lot of dry weather coming up until we get to the weekend. Winds going to the northeast. This is Sunday, and again you notice very limited showers. This is midday Sunday, so a few showers, almost certainly wintry, are peppering the east coast, but not really coming inland, and that's because of how high the pressure is just squeezing the moisture out of the atmosphere really. So whether we do snow watch or not, I think it is probably touch and go. These may not be picking up on the shower extent quite as much as the showers will be. They may be more widespread than this is suggesting over the weekend, but we have got very high pressure over the weekend, which will almost certainly limit the wintry shower potential quite a lot actually. So into early next week, again, we keep it dry, and then through the second half of next week, also we pull down those cold northerly winds. Now, these northerly winds will bring proper snow showers into northern parts of the country and draped around the coast, and maybe even some inland. So it could be that it's this second northerly that through the opening days of April that is actually going to be the one that justifies snow watch. It possibly will be. And then we move up towards day 10. Of course, we turn wind back into the west, so temperatures begin to recover. And we find the wintry showers, snow showers turning back towards rain by day 10 as milder air is coming in from off the Atlantic. These are the options on the table for day 10 today, which takes us to the 4th of April. From the Icelandic Met Office. So we have 18 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure to our east, high pressure is to the west, and winds are in from the north. So cold up to day 10 with those 18. 14 have high pressure. Let's change the colour. High pressure is just centred to our west a little bit. Winds are coming from a west-northwesterly direction. And so that's relatively settled, not as cold with these 14 as the 18 that we have here. Not as cold, but probably a bit on the chilly side. Another 14, which includes the ECM operational run, does have some high pressure still up towards Greenland, but low pressure is to our north. The winds are sort of backing round to a westerly type flow. So becoming unsettled at day 10 there, and temperatures lifting up. And then 5, again with high pressure over towards the Canadian side of Greenland, low pressure over and to our south. Probably quite cold and unsettled with those two. So generally, most of the ECM ensembles are quite cold up to day 10. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got, which gets us to the 9th of April. We have 19 members of the ECM ensembles then, with high pressure centred pretty much over top of the country. They're going to be mainly dry. Low pressure is up to the north. 13 with deep low pressure over the top of the country and bringing the winds from a westerly direction, so they're really quite unsettled. 10 with low pressure out to our northwest, winds are in from the west with those. A 9 with low pressure to our east southeast, high pressures are out to our northwest, winds are in from the north or northeast with those. So many of the ensemble members are actually looking quite unsettled by the time we get into the second week of April, but perhaps a bit milder. Finally, the CFS V2. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 25th to the 31st of March. The coming week will be dominated by high pressure sitting just to our north to northwest. Winds are in from the north to northeast. It is going to be cold, but relatively dry in the week ahead. Week 2 is the 1st to the 7th of April. The high pressure then is pushing out to the northwest, so it's centred just there. And the trough of low pressure is elongating down through west of Europe. Looks cold, still quite cold, and unsettled there through the first week of April. Dare I say, despite being the first week of April, there could be a bit of wintry potential. Week 3 is the 8th to the 14th of April with above average heights just out to our west, a trough of low pressure over Scandinavia. Winds are in kind of from a north to northwesterly direction, probably settling down, but I think still relatively cold with the temperature. And it's not really until week 4, which is the 15th to the 21st of April, that the CFS is seeing a return to westerlies. Low pressure then comes back to our north. High pressure develops to the southwest. Winds go back into the west, and that starts to pull in milder air from off the Atlantic, but would still be quite unsettled. So, yes, the stratospheric warming has occurred, as we anticipated, and we have got cold weather on the way. Whether that's a result of the stratospheric warming, as I've been saying in videos lately, whether that's a result of the stratospheric warming, these colder times that we've got ahead, or whether it's a coincidence, it would have happened anyway, there's absolutely no way of knowing that at all. It may be that we'll see a blocking signal getting going in May, for example, or end of April into May. Possibly it could be as late as June. You just never know when you have a sudden stratospheric warming. But that sudden stratospheric warming has happened at 10 HPA, and now we wait to see what, if any, tropospheric response we get. Perhaps next week we will already be having a tropospheric response to it. But what we can say is that we are definitely going to be turning things colder. Initially, we're going to pull in these cold northeasterlies over the weekend. And then next week, second half next week, we've got to look to the north, see whether we pull down those Arctic northerly winds and increase the risk of snow showers. By the time you get further on in towards the second week of April, maybe going milder and wetter, but of course that's a very long way out. Right, that's it for your videos for today. So we'll be back tomorrow with another week 10-day video update then as well. I think we include the Beijing Climate Centre next 40 days in that one. If you are able to get out in your garden, you can certainly go out into your garden and you'll still be sticking to the rules of isolation during this coronavirus crisis, so you can get into your garden and enjoy the sunshine. And we'll be back tomorrow, as I say, with your week 10-day video update. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you tomorrow.